Hello and welcome everyone to game 2 of this best of 3, and well, I am Madals. This is an SC2 England cast. Let me introduce these two players. We've got of course RiSK in the lower left, the yellow Protoss player, and in the top right we have DIMAGA, the red Zerg. And well, game 1 was extraordinary. I really liked game 1 because essentially it highlighted RiSK doing something which so many Protoss players seem to have forgotten, that you don't have to start this matchup with a Forge Fast Expand or a Nexus first. You can put on some earlier pressure, you can go a 1-gate expand, and boy did it work out for him. DIMAGA just wasn't able to deal with the earlier warp gate push, and as a result, RiSK won quite comfortably, but at no point did he take silly risks. At no point did he really think about, hey, shall I do something crazy? He was very methodical, very careful, and DIMAGA really has a lot to prove in game 2 to see if he can come back from this. And RiSK, already we're seeing Pylon in the high ground. That essentially just says, well, my build in game 1 worked, I'm gonna do it again in game 2, because, yeah, why not? Now, DIMAGA, I'll be interested to see what his strategy is going to be. Cloud Kingdom is an interesting map for Zerg players, because while your natural is okay to take, as it is on pretty much every map for Zerg, your third base is really vulnerable. Obviously, you've got this big space, you've got this big space, and then there's a narrow choke around here. So, as a result, force fields can be exceptionally effective. Warp-ins to this base can be exceptionally effective, and as a result, Zerg really have to think carefully about, how am I going to hold my third base? Because if I lose it, I'm probably going to lose this game. Coming back from losing your third on any map against Protoss is near impossible, especially if they have their natural up. So we'll wait and see what goes on. Spawning pool on the way for DIMAGA, normal timing there, everything good. It was a 15 pool. Meanwhile, this overlord getting a bit lost apparently. Just wants to keep an eye down here, and I can understand why, to be honest, because at the end of the day, if you're down a game in a best of 3, your opponent may just decide to cheese you. And in this kind of tournament setting, it's not really cheesing, it's just a smart thing to do, because if you can win the game flat out, you've got the one comforter game. So if you lose, you've got game 3. But if you win, hey, guess what? I've just quickly advanced through the tournament. Of course, this is from the Zotac Cup. Now, looking here, Cybercore on its way, the gateway down already. I saw some clicking on that Vespian guys, I'm sure, but for the moment apparently it's not going to go down. Just the one gas, that's fine. Looks like this probe going to go and have a little look around. Again though, DIMAGA going to be able to scout out most of this. He's going to take a quick little look, going to say, hey, guess what guys? I do not see an expansion here. That's the first important thing he's going to do. Next he's going to say, hey, I see no wall off, and he's coming straight for this main in order to get a good look. But of course the Cybercore nearly finished up. Will be interesting to see whether RiSK goes sentry heavy as he did in game 1, but he's got that one zealot hotkeyed and rallied over towards the natural base of DIMAGA. So this will be very interesting. Of course, the first Zerglings are on their way out. This probe coming over, just getting a nice little scout out. The Overlord obviously did spot the Zealot. Following this up, we do have a Stalker, so it's going to be some Stalker Zealot pressure. The second gas coming down now from RiSK, going essentially for an identical build to what he did in game 1. The only difference being is what he's producing from this gateway. Going a lot more aggressive early on. The Zealot is pulling, well, the Zealot is coming back to the probe. The Stalker on its way may actually get a kill on that Overlord if it wanted to, but nope, it's going to stop. And I can't blame it, because the Overlord, I think, would almost certainly get away there. So that is all fine. Meanwhile, these two Zerglings are going to try and get a kill on the probe, but the Zealot there just to make sure everything's fine. The probe needs to be careful, getting very low on health, and obviously Warpgate Tech on its way. The Pylon goes down though, and I think this is really an indicator to DIMAGA that, hey, pressure is going to be applied. More Stalkers coming in. We've got the Chrono Boost out on the Warp Gate Tech. The double gas though means it's not going to be a conventional 4 Warp Gate. The fact he's banking on nearly 400 minerals means, hey, I'm going to expand. But this is a nice little bit of pressure. The Pylon cancelled as well, but DIMAGA is completely unaware of that. So for all he knows, it could be a 4 gate. He's producing an awful lot of units. That of course is not drones. He's got the Spine Crawler coming down. So this is a really good psychological mind game to play with DIMAGA, that he's shown the Pylon, which basically says, hey, I could be 4-gating you. Are you prepared? And the response is DIMAGA produces an awful lot of Zerglings. Now sees that the Pylon has been cancelled. That's fine. The second Stalker coming in here. They need to be careful not to die, but there's not enough Zerglings there at the moment. If we look at the units tab, 23 to 21 workers. So obviously that is not fun times for DIMAGA, who is now droning behind this, seeing the Pylon gone. Realise he's been a bit tricked out of that. Also with this Overlord, scouts of course. The Nexus is down, sees the Forge coming down. RiSK transitioning into some more conventional play, but DIMAGA should be able to pull ahead in terms of the worker lead now. He's got the double injects coming down, he's getting up his first 2 gas. No rush to take the third base in this situation, because, well, your opponent's natural isn't up. You want to take it relatively soon after that though, so really we'll wait and see what DIMAGA chooses to do, but really RiSK that little bit of pressure. Although it didn't do much damage according to the resources lost tab, he forced an awful lot of Zerglings. Those Zerglings of course weren't drones, lower mining time. It also freaked DIMAGA out a bit, which is never a bad thing, and every time you freak out your opponent, they're gonna overproduce units, and especially for Zerg, that can be a big problem. Now, looking here, interesting, we've got the Twilight Council on its way for RiSK, so perhaps going for some early +2 upgrades. He can also be looking to get Blink out early. That, of course, is all fairly standard. Meanwhile, we've got creep tumors being spread. DIMAGA, of course, really good with getting the extra queen out in order to spread that. He's got a lair started as well. Meanwhile, of course, this Overlord is taking a good look at everything. Sees the Forge researching something, sees Warpgate Tech is now finished. Doesn't see anything else done. It's, yet again, really quite gateway light at the moment. It's slowly adding on more gateways. We're going to be up to 3 gates there, so not a huge amount. Some more being added on. That takes us up to 4 gate. That can still apply good pressure. Even at this stage of the game, a delayed 4-gate push can be very, very strong indeed, especially with the +1. Meanwhile, this pylon coming down. Does that complete the wall off? I think it does, actually. So, no, there's a small gap there the stalker can fit through. Anyway, lots and lots of spine crawlers coming down. I'm not quite sure what DIMAGA's seen to worry him so much, but wow, that is an awful lot of spine crawlers. He is clearly very, very concerned about a push right now, and of course this is an awful lot of minerals, it's an awful lot of drones, and it doesn't really seem to offer anything because, as you can see here, this is not a sizable force. More warp gates are coming in, obviously, but, well, that still only takes us up to what? It's 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 gates can apply some pressure, but not too much. This probe coming in, though, dropping a proxy pylon, and this is really gearing up to try and take out the 3rd base, because clearly here RiSK is assuming that DIMAGA has gone for his 3rd base, but DIMAGA hasn't. He's just built a huge number of spine crawlers, and that really is substantial because, as you can see, the working count very similar at the time being, but just by sheerly getting out 10 spine crawlers, that's 1,000 minerals, not including the drone cost. As a result, he will be able to hold this off, but at what cost? DIMAGA clearly wanting to play very safe, feels a bit nervous about the pressure coming on. I don't know if he's seen anything too bad, but obviously Blink is finished up, so these stalkers are going to be really quite potent. There is an observer though, so no vision of the high ground. Those spine crawlers will shut down this push. There's no way this force can push through all of those, especially with more units coming down. But, well, the stalkers apparently is going to reveal Blink very early on, but in come those Zerglings are pulled back, going to try and engage some more of them, need some good force fields ideally, but those force fields are not coming yet, so they do need to come down at some point relatively soon. The sentries are exposed, which you don't really want, and, well, RiSK able to clean that up. DIMAGA being forced to make a lot more Zerglings. The Infestor's also on the way out. That's going to help the 1-1 upgrades for DIMAGA. Obviously, no +2 upgrade started yet for the Protoss, but I'm amazed RiSK is still applying the pressure because there's just so many spine crawlers here. Zergling speed is clearly done. You've got to be careful not to lose units here. And already we're seeing that a couple of stalkers are going down. In terms of being cost effective, about twice as cost effective as DIMAGA, but more spine crawlers coming up. Using the high ground incredibly well, and also the generate creep. I really like that play. That is incredibly clever. But, well, these spine crawlers just clearly like being poked. If they were on Facebook, they would poke all of their friends just in the hope to get some back, but as you can see, this is starting to really shift into DIMAGA's favour because, of course, now he's got these Infestors out, he's got fungal growth options, and if these Stalkers decide to poke up too close to the spines, well, a big fungal growth, they're not going to be able to blink out anywhere. They're going to take big damage, and that's going to be a bad situation for DIMAGA, for RiSK to be in, rather. But these, well, at the moment, the Infestors aren't able to get in there quite soon enough, moving very far forward, need to be careful. I'm not actually sure if it's been changed. This is, no, it must be pre-patch. I don't think fungal growth has 9 range anymore. I think it's the changed version, but we'll wait and see. But obviously the 3rd and 4th gas on its way down. Importantly, no expansion down here. And wow, these Infestors are quite out of position. The Zerglings are going to get cleaned up very, very nicely. A great forward blink. We're going to see DIMAGA lose 1, maybe even 2 Infestors here. That is going to be a big problem. A great little force field there. Definitely worthwhile to pick off an Infestor. And still we're seeing good engagements in terms of RiSK being cost effective. This pylon coming down, DIMAGA trying to take his 3rd base, and to be honest, RiSK, he's not in a big problem. He still hasn't started the +2 though, which I'm quite surprised at. He has got his robotics facility on the way, but he's committing an awful lot to this push. He's supply blocked after losing that pylon. A lot of zealots here, of course, that's going to help tank up the spine crawler damage, but there goes a massive fungal growth right there. That costs so many units. A cancel force though with the 3rd base, and this is good by RiSK, because the longer he delays that 3rd, the better it's going to be for him. Now, obviously here, the Infestor count getting higher, and those Infestors really are strong. they're going to be able to shut down this army quite effectively. And the only real problem for RiSK is his tech. Obviously, his first robotics facility is still not finished, and as a result, he's not going to have a robotics bay for a long time, no Colossi out for a long time, and DIMAGA really is starting to clear up with a lot of units. Also, RiSK going to get quite heavily supply blocked here, losing these 2 pylons, so that in itself is quite a big problem, assuming DIMAGA comes down here, guys. So that is a bit of a pain. The macro hatch is up for DIMAGA, so he's going to be able to drone quite heavily. He's got the 1-1 upgrades. That's compared to the 1-0 for the Protoss player, but plus 2 Protoss ground weapons coming down. That photon cannon needs to get taken out, allowing his units back into the base. So just keeping the full wall off to prevent any Zergling 1-buys. Now DIMAGA going Spire. Ooh. I like this choice on this map because, well, as you can see, dead space, the robotics bay really exposed there. No cannons down in the main at all or anything like that. The gas count, where are we at? We're at 4 already. The spine crawlers give a good ground defense. That's really the only criticism of Mute players. What if they come and kill you? But a lot of spine crawlers will help hold that. No, well, Hive, wow. So, yeah, going straight up to potentially Broodlords. And, of course, it's difficult by this composition to judge the time of the game because, of course, we are up to about 14 minutes 40. So, as a result, most people think, well, hang on, the Protoss player is still just on gateway tech, so it can't be that long. But that gateway push lasted an awful long time, and DIMAGA really did a good job of not losing too much to it. His third base was denied. It looks like RiSK preparing to take his own third base. He's got enough money for it. He's getting out the first Colossus. That's going to really, really help. Getting Ascended Thermal Lance as well. In terms of other upgrades, +2 nearly finished up. Meanwhile, 2-2 for DIMAGA is on its way really, really quite potently. So that 2-2 is going to give DIMAGA a nice upgrade advantage, and as a result, should allow him to engage a bit more cost effectively than he has been so far. This Overseer is still there, sees the Colossus, so that of course is a good little win. Meanwhile, the Watchtower getting taken. I don't think DIMAGA is aware. No, he's not aware of this third base yet. Could run the Zergling up just to take a quick little peek. Gonna come down, gets a good confirmation on the Colossus there, gets a good confirmation on the third base, so good scouting information. The first Corruptors on their way out, the Infestor count looking good, up at 10 Infestors, and lots of them are nearing full energy as well, so there's a good number of fungal growths and infested Terrans available to our Zerg player here, and well, everything going nicely. We've got the Greater Spire on its way down, so Corruptors will be hitting in, what's that, 75 seconds or so, so that is all nice. And judging by this third base, RiSK is not going to try and engage before that point. There's no reason for him to push across the map yet. He's obviously trying to secure his third, go into a 3-base Protoss position. He's getting up his +3 ground weapons as well, so probably going to wait for those before he goes for any engagement, and that's giving DIMAGA the time he needs to get out those Broodlords. Work count 72 to 57, so DIMAGA really in an ace spot right now in terms of all of his production. His injects are looking good. Even through he's had a good amount of pressure, his injects haven't been too bad. He needs to make sure he keeps them up though, as I say that. Meanwhile, just a little bit of positioning, the Protoss army moving forward, and this is the kind of danger timing for DIMAGA. He needs to hold this army off for at least another, well, at very, very minimum, about 40 seconds in order to get some Broodlords about to hit the field. Where are the Corruptors pulled back to? So that's a good spot. Zergling's running into the third. Brilliant move right now, because this, of course, means RiSK has to pull back. He's going to take quite a lot of economic damage, actually, and the Stalker's obviously blinking back, trying to get back to defend this. Broodlord's now on the way, so obviously this was an ace move by DIMAGA. He's forced back all of RiSK's army in order to get those Broodlords out. I absolutely love this. The Broodlords are now going to put him in a really nice spot to deal with it. The only threat he really has are the Blink Stalkers. There are quite a sizable number, 33 of them on the field. Obviously, a good forward blink could potentially cause the Broodlords some problems, but the Infestors, as long as they are on the money with their fungal growths, everything all the time, the Broodlords can go over the high ground as well. That is a good position for them to be, because then, of course, the Stalkers are unable to get those good positions. Lots of infested Terrans getting locked down. The Broodlords coming back there as well. Zergling streaming in, and here we go. This is possibly going to be the big fight that decides it all, and RiSK really struggling to get that forward blink. So many infested Terrans there, but there goes the blink forward. The infested Terrans are doing huge damage. A couple of Broodlords are getting taken down at the moment, but most are staying up, and of course just so many infested Terrans up, so much damage being done, and it looks like DIMAGA is going to be able to clean this up nicely. The Stalker count tumbling down, more getting warped in, but more infested Terrans getting lobbed forward as well. And of course, one final attempt to blink forward. We may see a couple more Broodlords go down, but DIMAGA's got a good bank. He's already producing more Corruptors, and he has pretty much cleaned up everything here. The Corruptors will be able to pick off this Colossus, and well, that is not a healthy number. 23 to 70 army supply. But the worker count 71 to 60, so RiSK, he does have a good economy to back him up, but RiSK just decides to GG out right there. He has not got anything he needs to deal with those Broodlords now, so he just GG's out and is going to take it to Game 3, which of course is good news for us, and I'm really excited to see who wins. So make sure you like the video, subscribe and leave a cool comment, then flick over to Game 3. I'll catch you there in a second. Bye for now.